My name is Jennifer Caldwell. I am 30 years old, and I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I work in financial services, have for about 6 years now, which means I understand numbers. I understand contracts. I understand exactly what it means when your name is on a document and exactly what it means when it is not. I want you to hold on to that detail, because it matters more than anything else in this story. I have one brother. His name is Marcus. He is 4 years older than me, which made him 34 when all of this happened. Marcus is the kind of man who has always had a big idea. Ever since we were kids, he was the one with the plan, the vision, the pitch, the excitement that filled up a room. He could sell anything. He could make you believe anything. And for most of my life, I was his biggest believer. Our parents passed within 2 years of each other, Daddy first, then Mama. And when the dust settled, we had each other and not much else. No big inheritance, no safety net. Just 2 kids from Cincinnati who had been raised to work hard and take care of their own. And I took that seriously. Lord, I took it seriously. Marcus came to me about 5.5 years ago with an idea for a landscaping and property maintenance business. He had worked in the industry for years. He knew the work, he knew the clients, he knew what was missing in our market. What he didn't have was capital. He needed equipment. He needed a truck. He needed insurance, licensing, a website, business cards, the basic infrastructure of a legitimate operation. He sat across from me at my kitchen table, and he laid it all out. Every number, every projection. He had put together a real plan. I will give him that. It was not a fantasy. It was a real, workable business plan. And he needed $12,000 to get started. I had $14,000 in savings at the time. I had been building that account since my first job at 22. 8 years of putting away a little every month, skipping things I wanted, being disciplined in the way our mama taught us to be. I gave him $12,000. I did not make him sign anything. I did not draw up a contract. Because he was my brother. Because we had buried our parents together. Because I believed in him the way only a sister can believe in a brother. Completely, without fine print. That was my first mistake. Not giving him the money. Giving it without documentation. I want to walk you through what the next 5 years actually looked like. Not the version Marcus told people. The version where he built a business from nothing through hard work and determination. The real version. Year 1. I gave him the initial $12,000. I also co-signed on a truck loan because his credit was not strong enough on its own. That truck was in my name as much as his. Every month I made sure the payment cleared. Year 2. The business was growing, but cash flow was inconsistent. He called me in March, in July, and in October, 3 separate times. Each time he needed between $1,500 and $3,000 to cover payroll, or equipment repair, or a slow month. I sent it every time. No questions. Because that is what family does. Year 3. His wife entered the picture. Her name is Donna. She and Marcus had been together for about a year when they got married. And I will be honest with you. I did not dislike Donna at first. She was pleasant. She seemed to care about Marcus. She had her own job, her own income, her own life. I thought she was good for him. What I did not know, what I could not have known, because Marcus never told me, was that shortly after the wedding, Donna had begun pushing Marcus to formalize the business structure, to get it properly registered, to protect it legally. That is not a bad thing, by itself. That is actually smart business. But the way they did it, that is the thing. Year 4. Marcus told me the business was doing well. Better than well, actually. He had 3 full-time employees and a roster of commercial clients. He was talking about buying a second truck. He seemed happy. He seemed settled. And he stopped asking me for money, which I took as a sign that things had turned around. He did not tell me that the business had been formally registered as an LLC that year. He did not tell me whose name was on it. Year 5, I got a letter. It came on a Tuesday. Plain envelope, return address from the Ohio Secretary of State's office. I almost didn't open it right away. I get a lot of business mail, and I wasn't expecting anything. But something made me open it that evening, standing at my kitchen counter still in my work clothes. It was a business registration document, a notice related to the LLC. I won't get into every legal detail because it's complicated and that's not the point. The point is that this document listed the owners of the business, the members of the LLC. Marcus Caldwell, 50%. Donna Caldwell, 50%. I read it twice. I set it down. I picked it up and read it again. My name was not on it. Not as an owner, not as a creditor, not as an investor, not in any capacity whatsoever. 5.5 years of my money, my credit, my faith, and legally, officially on paper, I had nothing to do with that business. I sat down on my kitchen floor. I don't know why the floor. I was right next to a chair, but I sat down on the floor and I just sat there for a while. I was not crying. I want you to understand that. I was not sad in that moment. I was something much colder than sad. I was calculating. I am a woman who works in financial services. I understand documentation. And the first thing I did, before I called Marcus, before I called anyone, was go through every single piece of paper I had related to that business. The original $12,000 wire transfer, I had the bank record. The co-signed truck loan, I had every document. The 3 emergency transfers in year 2, I had records of all of them. Every single payment I had ever sent Marcus, I had a record of it, because I am that kind of person. I keep records. My mama raised me to keep records. I spent 3 evenings going through everything, organizing it, scanning it, putting it in a folder, a real folder and a digital folder, backed up in 2 places. And then I called an attorney, a woman named Patricia Holt, who had been recommended to me by a colleague. I made an appointment, I went in, and I laid everything on her desk. She looked at it for a long time. And then she looked at me and she said, "Jennifer, you have a strong case for recovery of funds as an undocumented investor. The paper trail you have is better than most people walk in here with." I said, "Wait, what are my options?" She told me. I went home and I thought about it for 1 week. 1 full week, during which I did not contact Marcus at all. He called me twice during that week. Normal calls, chatty, nothing about the business. I answered. I talked to him like everything was fine, because I needed that week. I needed to be sure about what I was going to do before I showed him a single card. On a Saturday morning, 8 days after I received that letter, I called Marcus and asked if I could come over. I told him I had something I wanted to talk about in person. He said, of course, come for lunch. I drove to his house, a nice house, nicer than mine, in a neighborhood that his business had paid for. And I sat down at his kitchen table. Donna was there. She stayed in the kitchen, which told me Marcus had not told her why I was coming. Or maybe he had and she wanted to be present. Either way, she was there. I put the folder on the table. I put the letter on top of it. I said, "Marcus, I got this in the mail." He looked at it. Something moved across his face. Not surprise, exactly. More like a man who has been waiting for a shoe to drop and has finally heard it hit the floor. He said, "Jenny." I said, "I need you to let me finish." He went quiet. I said, "I gave you $12,000 to start this business. I co-signed your truck loan. I sent you money 3 times in year 2 when you called me. I have bank records for every single dollar. And this document tells me that I have no legal standing in this business whatsoever. I need you to explain that to me." Donna put down what she was doing. The kitchen got very quiet. Marcus started talking. He said it wasn't what it looked like. He said he had always intended to talk to me about it. He said Donna's attorney had recommended the LLC structure, and it had just happened. And he hadn't gotten around to explaining it properly, and he knew it looked bad, but I said, "Marcus, stop." He stopped. I said, "I don't want an explanation. I want to know what you plan to do about it." He said, "What do you mean?" I said. I mean, I have an attorney. I have documentation of every dollar I put into this business. And my attorney has advised me that I have grounds to pursue recovery of those funds plus interest, and potentially a claim on the business itself, given my role in its founding. Donna said something. I don't remember exactly what. Something about how I had given the money as a gift, how there was never any agreement, how this was a family matter and attorneys were not necessary. I looked at her. I said very calmly, Donna, I am not speaking to you right now. She did not say anything else. I looked back at Marcus. I said, you have 2 weeks to come back to me with a proposal. Something fair. Something that acknowledges what I contributed. If I don't hear from you in 2 weeks, my attorney will be in touch with yours. I picked up my folder. I stood up. I said, I love you, Marcus. I have always loved you. And I want you to understand that this is not about the money. It is about the fact that you let me walk around for 5 years thinking I was your partner and your family, and the whole time my name was nowhere. And then I left. I will not lie to you. Those 2 weeks were hard. Not because I doubted myself. I did not doubt myself for a single moment. But because there is a particular kind of grief that comes when someone you love confirms your worst fear about them. When the evidence becomes undeniable. And I had loved Marcus my whole life. I had believed in him when nobody else did. I had shown up for him when Mama died and he could barely get out of bed. And I had handed him $12,000 and said, go build your dream. And he had built it, and put someone else's name on it. Our aunt called me 4 days after my visit. Marcus had told the family, his version, which was that I was being difficult, that the money had always been understood as a gift, that Donna's name was on the business for tax reasons, and it had nothing to do with cutting me out. Our aunt asked me to be reasonable, to think about the family. I said, Auntie, I am being perfectly reasonable. I am asking for documentation of what I contributed. That is not difficult. That is basic. She said Marcus was very upset. I said, I imagine he is. Our cousin called. Same message, different words. I thanked him for calling and told him this was between me and Marcus. Marcus himself called on day 10, not to make a proposal, to try to have a conversation, to go back to the explanation, to the context, to the reasons, to tell me that Donna had pushed for the structure, and he hadn't fully understood it himself. I said, Marcus, you signed the documents. You are a grown man. You do not get to tell me you didn't understand what you were signing. He got emotional. He said he didn't want to lose me over this. I said, you made a choice. I am asking you to make a different one now. You have 4 more days. On day 14, his attorney contacted my attorney. The negotiation took about 6 weeks. I will not go through every detail because some of it is confidential and some of it is just paperwork. What I will tell you is this. I was repaid. Every dollar I had ever put into that business, the initial investment, the emergency transfers, a portion of the truck loan payments, with interest. It was a significant amount of money, enough to matter. Additionally, my name was added to the business records as a founding investor. Not an owner, not an equal partner, but acknowledged, documented, real. Marcus paid it. He and Donna paid it out of the business, which they had built together and which was doing well enough to absorb it. It hurt them financially. I know it did. I did not enjoy that part, but I did not apologize for it either. Marcus and I do not talk the way we used to. That is the honest truth, and I will not dress it up. We talk on birthdays and holidays. We are civil. We are not close. Something broke that night at his kitchen table. Not when I put the folder down, but before that, much before that. In whatever moment he decided to sign those documents and not tell me. I do not know if we will ever get back to what we were. I hope we do. He is my brother. He is the only family I have left. And I have to believe, that people can learn, that they can grow, that a mistake, even a big one, does not have to be the last word. But I also know this. I will never again give anyone, not Marcus, not anyone I love, a significant amount of money without documentation. Not because I am hard, not because I do not trust, but because love and paperwork are not opposites. A contract does not mean you don't believe in someone. It means you respect both of you enough to be clear. My mama used to say, "Take care of your business, and your business will take care of you." She meant it about work, but I think she meant it about everything. I took care of my business, and I am still standing. And to those of you listening who have been here before, who gave and gave and gave to someone you loved, and watched them take it and say thank you very much and walk away, I want you to hear me. You were not foolish for loving someone that much. You were not weak for believing in them. The fault is not in your generosity. The fault is in what they chose to do with it. You deserved better. You still do. Thank you for listening. Leave a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one. I will see you in the next one.